Go ahead and tell us your story and how the anxiety and depression started. I think you did mention it started 2 years ago, and what you've done in that time span, and what kind of improvements that you've had using the clean slate.
Okay, so well, originally the actual depression started about 11 years ago. I had to go through a course of IVF to try and have children. Um,
Oh,
it didn't work, so obviously that left me devastated. So that's actually when the depression started about 11 years ago. And I kind of went through a whole spiritual journey, and really thought I'd kind of dealt with it. And so it's do when we go on a spiritual journey. I mean, I did various things. There's not a lot that I didn't do, and I really thought I'd kind of dealt with my issues and dealt with the despair of not having children. And it was interesting that 2 years ago my life was actually in a really good place. I was in a job that I loved. Everything was going really well financially, and I started to feel a bit down. And literally within the space of 24 hours, I found myself standing on the edge of a platform at a train station wanting to jump. And I thought I had jumped. Just complete. It's a place of complete and utter despair. It was a huge shock. Obviously, I don't really know how I got home, but I somehow, I don't know. Me personally, I think it was some kind of divine intervention. I don't remember. The next thing I remember is being at home in my house, and it was a Friday, so that whole weekend was, quite traumatic. I wanted to kill myself, I wanted to kill my partner, I wanted to kill my fur babies. It was all very dark, and so on the Monday, I called the doctor, went to see the doctor on the Monday, and I was put on high priority, which basically means that I had to get care and attention straight away because I was on, the high priority list. So so I was quite lucky. I was really lucky. I got counselling straight away. My work was really understanding. I managed to kind of pull myself out of, that kind of dark, deep place of despair. But what transpired after that is that I started to get really bad anxiety and really bad panic, which is something that I had never, ever experienced before. We all get scared and we all get anxious, but, this feeling of pure panic and everything just closing in on you was so debilitating. So I had to leave my role at that time, which was as a manager in a major department store in London. I had to leave that role, and I went for a role as a sales, just a sales representative. I told the company that I was going to go and work for, of my mental health issues, and they were really good, really supportive. If I had anxiety, they would kind of give me the time off work. There was no kind of issues around how much time I took off sick and that kind of thing. And also 11 years ago, I actually got, because of the IVF and the medication I had to take, I also ended up getting really bad psoriasis and asthma. So Sandy, who has been my soul brother for about 4 years, he introduced me to Clean Slate back in, I think it was June of this year. So previous to that, I'd had, and the anxiety could kick off such small reasons, but obviously really debilitating. I found myself not being able to do anything, and then that would lead to depression because you feel like a failure. And I'd always been a really, a very successful businesswoman before the IVF, so it was very, very difficult for me. So he originally recommended the Clean Slate for my psoriasis because I think it was somebody called Mark who was taking Clean Slate. He'd had these amazing results with with it. So that was really the original reason why I started taking it. And I started to notice around about sort of July, August time that something happened in the house, and that would have sent me into at first anxiety and then into a huge panic attack. and it didn't happen. And I was really surprised. And I know this sounds crazy, but I was actually looking for the panic and the anxiety because I didn't want to feel like I was suppressing it. Because if you suppress it and, you know, if you don't deal with it, basically, it can lead to a worse panic attack. And I had a panic so bad one day that I ended up in hospital thinking I was having a heart attack. So the panic didn't happen. And I just thought, okay, maybe it's just because we're in lockdown and a bit chilled at the moment. And I think, hey, was when I was literally called a day before because obviously we were in lockdown. I wasn't at work, and I was called into work, and I was given basically 10 hours notice to go into work, and that would have definitely sent off a panic attack. So my area managers kept ringing me and saying, you know, are you okay to do this? And I said, yeah, I'm fine, and I was fine. And I got up in the morning and got ready for work and got on the train and went to work. And I remember getting to work and coming out of the train station and just this complete feeling, just overwhelming joy, is that I didn't feel anxious at all. And I remember leaving Sandy a voice note because I didn't want to talk to him because I knew I'd just start crying. So I just left him this voice note and I just said, you know, dude, you know, this is incredible. I have no anxiety, I have no panic. I went to work, you know, beautiful day at work, and since then I haven't had any anxiety or any panic. And the only thing that I changed in my life was taking clean slate. That was the only thing I changed. And
Wow,
that's,
Rabina, that's incredible. Were you taking the not just the clean slate, but were you taking the zero in as well?
no, I haven't started taking the zero in yet. On the clean slate at the moment.
Hmm. Clayton.
I'm listening. I'm loving it.
Just it's I don't know. I'm you know, before my IVF, I never took any medication. I'm an aromatherapist. I've always been into nutrition, and I truly believe that, you know, medication is poisonous, and you know, and I do that the IVF medication poisoned my system, and somehow that led to, you know, obviously it affected me physically firstly and emotionally. But then obviously because I was dealing with it, my body was so toxic that obviously that then the mind just suddenly thinks, hang on a minute, you're not dealing with, you know, I'm still so toxic, this body is still toxic. And so, you know, chemically it led to the anxiety and the panic attacks. And clean slate somehow has, you know, I for me personally, that's how I feel, is that somehow the clean slate has detoxed my body now to, I mean, the psoriasis is a lot better, it's still there, but for me, the effect on my mental health has changed my life. It's made me want to live, it's given me goals, it's given me a reason to be here. That's it.
Incredible. I mean, I'm just totally blown away.
So how long has it been? I know Dory's got 6 weeks up on here. Are you about 6 weeks in?
So I started taking it in at the end of June.
Okay.
And I started to notice a difference probably at the end of sort of July, beginning of August. That's when I started to notice the difference. But my
Okay.
anxiety were bad. I mean, I could have a panic attack 2 or 3 times a week.
And these weren't light. These were severe.
Oh, you literally feel like you're going to die. I mean, you literally, your heart, you know, the only way I can describe it is you feel like you're actually going to die of a heart attack, or you can't breathe, you can't, you know, it, and you can't. It's just imagine the most frightened you've ever been. It's terror.
So in that time, so when you started to see results, and then we go from August until now, what have you seen? How do you compare? I don't think you can go on a scale of 1 to 10 because it sounds like you're going from 10 to 0.
That's yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
But how would you explain that? Because I mean, what you're hitting on is a subject, especially here in the United States, that probably 20% of the population deals with. I mean, when we talk about mental health and anxiety and you know, how people manage stress and depression, I mean, this is a big topic, and it affects loads of people. And the fact that you haven't tried Zero In yet just amazes me. But how, you know, to simplify the process, right? Or to simplify how you feel and what you've gone through, is this something that you would recommend someone that's been in the same journey that you were once in? And what did you experience in that process when you started to see changes? Were there any like detox symptoms initially that you felt a little bit worse, or did you just progressively kind of see the change? And also, I'm throwing like 12 questions at you, but what dosage did you start with and where are you now? So go.
So I started on 5 drops twice a day.
Okay.
Initially, I was concentrating on my skin. I didn't even think about my mental health. That wasn't even a consideration at that time, because, you know, when you're mentally unwell, you don't think, oh my God, I'm going to start taking a supplement going to help my mental health. That it was purely about my skin. That's all. So I noticed with my skin that when I started taking it, it you know, the redness started to go down quite quickly, but then it would flare. And then, you know, and then when it flared the first time, Sandy said, okay, you know, up your dosage to 7 drops. So that's exactly what I did. And then, you know, it would calm down. And so initially, Clayton, my concentration was really on the skin. I didn't really think about the effects of my of clean slate on my mental health at all. You know, physically, you know, my skin would start to get better, and then it would flare. And then, you know, I'd kind of say Sandy was amazing, you know, regular contact, how are you getting on, Rubes, you know, and so I'd say to him, you know, I'm having a flare up at the moment. He'd say, okay, you know what, make sure you're drinking enough water, up it to 7. So now I'm on 10 drops twice a day. You know, making sure I'm drinking. I actually drink 3 liters of water a day. I'm you know, because I just think, I spoke to somebody a couple of weeks ago, and he said, you know, the IVF really did severe so much toxicity in your body, so you need to, you know, make sure you drink loads of water. So I'm on 3 liters of water a day, you know, quite a good diet. I've always been sort of you know, with my diet, but like I said, the mental health side wasn't.
I lost you for a second, but I'm trying to throw back the question that I wanted to add. So with your, if this is it, because I want to hit on a key point of how the body dictates this process and not our intention. If you have the 2 options, you have your mental health, and then you had your skin, which we know is a liver issue. Which do you think for your overall well-being was more important to address first?
At the time of taking clean slate, I thought it was my physical health, but now I know that anything physical normally manifests from what's going on emotionally. So, you know, if I was anxious, if I'm panicked, if I'm stressed, if I'm depressed, that's going to affect me and my system physically. So for me, and also, you know, mental health, if you've got mental health issues, nothing gives you joy. I mean, nothing. You could literally win £1 million, and you'd go into a panic about, oh my God, I've won £1 million, and you'd find reasons to panic about that. So for me, personally, the fact that it's had such a huge effect on my mental health, yeah, fine, I've still got psoriasis, you know, it's weird. The psoriasis is almost invisible to me now.
Well, and I think that's awesome. That's part of the process, and it's what I really wanted to hit on. Of when you go through the process of just, you know, we can say cleaning up the mess. that it's your body that's going to dictate what it needs first. And so now that the mental aspects are improving, I'm going to bet you that over, we'll say, the next 30, 60, 90 days, that you'll start to see the skin stuff clear up as well, because there's an innate intelligence that how the body energetically is working with the fragments in clean slate on how it applies them. So it's going to address areas of greatest importance that it knows need to be addressed, which might be different than what, like you're hitting on. You started taking it from a cosmetic purpose and got results that were a little bit different than expected to start with.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
That's the beautiful aspect. So thank you so much. This is awesome.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. We're going to have to check in with you again 6 months from now and get an update and see how you're doing.
Oh,
but
definitely.
Thank you so much. It was amazing testimonials. So Birgit, go ahead and tell us about your story and how, what's going on, because I understand that you have a long history of things that actually go back from the time you were 18. I mean, were you diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis when you were 18 years old?
Well, actually, not immediately. It was when I was around 18 years old that I started to have palpitations. I was being sick a lot. My hands were trembling. I overall felt really bad, and I was extremely tired. What I had, the first thing actually that happened to me was when I was 14 years old. I got a severe allergy, but they never found what it was for, not up to now. My nose was runny all the time. So in that time, they gave me, oh God, what was it called? Injections with one or another cortisone to stop that. So that was a bit serious. Then a while later, I got onto stuff that was less harmful for my whole body, that stopped the runny nose and the itchy eyes. Now, I think I was like 25 when they actually found that I had a serious problem with my thyroid. Luckily, there was a doctor that had done a thesis about thyroid, and at that time, that must have been around for the 90s, they didn't know a lot about the thyroid yet, and he actually had done his thesis for university about the thyroid, and he was the first one to notice that that was the problem I had. So he got me on L-tyroxine. What I don't know what it is with you, but you probably know. Yeah, probably similar word. Now, where do I go on? Actually, I've been suffering with that thyroid for quite a while. Then I've been to see a homeopathic doctor. Yeah, and he said, "Oh, you have problems with your liver." Right, that has never been proven until later in life. I went to see holistic doctors, and then they saw that that was actually the case. I also had at that time, when I was like around 25, I had severe eczema. That has gotten a lot better. I've got asthma. Now, what else? Asthma. The reason actually I started to take clean slate is because I read from a friend on Facebook that he was suffering a lot less from brain fog, and that was actually an enormous issue for me. I found it really hard to concentrate on anything, and that got worse over the years. I'm looking here what I'm, when I was 25, I also started on Prozac. against depression. I actually stopped taking that last year, and I have come to the conclusion that I don't really need it at all. I'm not depressed. What else was the matter? I have indeed fibro, leaky gut, adrenal fatigue, autoimmune disease, in short, parasites. I have been taken a tablet, Biotics Para, it's called, against the parasites during 1.5 years. It got better, but the moment I stopped taking these tablets, my diarrhea came back. Now I have stopped taking the tablets, and I seem to be totally all right with a clean slate alone. So it's obviously working against these little buggers too. What also has gotten a lot better for me is restless legs. I used to take naltrexone for that. When I take my clean slate, I don't need to take anything else for that. And I sleep a lot better because I had really trouble sleeping because of my adrenal fatigue. So yeah, I'm extremely happy that I found these drops actually.
Well, tell us about your osteoarthritis.
Right, I had
with your knees.
Oh yeah, I have this. Yeah. Two things. My knees. I have like my kneecaps are too small. The surgeon said don't get a oh, how do you call it in English? When they replace your kneecaps.
Like a knee replaced. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they can do the caps too, but they said it's risky. It could be that you end up in a wheelchair. So what happened is that actually nothing happened with his knees, but I think from always being in the wrong position, I have developed arthritis, we call it in Flemish. So my knees always ache. Yeah. Also, the gel has gone. The stuff that acts as how do you call it?
The disc, the pad, isn't it?
Yeah, the
cartilage.
The cartilage probably. That's probably yeah. They put in a gel. They put in a gel to sort of help that. But
like Synvisc or something like that.
Yeah.
Hyaluronic acid, Synvisc, they can use. How is the clean slate helped with that?
After a few weeks of using clean slate, I all of a sudden noticed that I didn't go ow, ow, ow when I got up from a chair. And that's something I had been doing for a few years already. Like when you sit for a while and then you get up, it hurts. And all of a sudden I noticed this doesn't hurt anymore. So I'm extremely happy with that. Also, my left hand, that aches, but that's only since a few months actually. And I couldn't pick up stuff with it anymore, like a plate full of food. I couldn't pick that up anymore. That's also better. I still feel that it aches a bit, but I can pick up stuff again. So I'm extremely happy.
When did you start the clean slate?
Not long ago. I think a month and a half ago only. Actually, after 3 days, I already started noticing that my brain fog had gotten a lot less. I could focus a lot better. There was something else I wanted to say about.
And then did you start taking Zero In? Also?
I started and I completely forgot about it because I take loads and loads of supplements, and I sort of forgot them. So I'm gonna start again, definitely. Yeah. Have to start that again. Oh, something else that I forgot to notice, very important. In the winter, I always have to take tablets because I have inflamed sinuses, and that has gone too. That's over. All of a sudden, I noticed that I hadn't taken a tablet in a few weeks, so that also went really quickly.
So what would you say, like so the first thing you mentioned that you started noticing was the brain fog.
Absolutely.
That was a lot better. That was more improved. And then what was what do you think is the next big thing that you started noticing?
Something I forgot to mention actually. Also, after like 3 days, I felt that I was much more awake. I could sleep through the night, and I describe it now to people as I am awake during the day instead of trying to get through my day. So I'm actually awake. I can do stuff. That was a very important one for me. That was the second thing that I noticed. Then after that, actually, the pain that was a lot less.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great, because like, you're just starting out, so it's going to be really interesting to see what's going to happen from this time forward, say six months from now or 9 months from now, and see how you progress. Andy, hey, welcome to the call. We're here to get an update from you, because some you were on a call before and you gave your psoriasis testimonial and your other things. And so for those who haven't been on this call, they probably don't know what we're talking about, but go ahead and just start from the beginning and tell us your story.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me on, by the way. Sorry, I'm just laughing at my photograph. I shouldn't laugh really, but you've nearly got a picture of my knobbly knees, haven't you? My story, I've been a bit of a supplement health maniac for about 15-20 years now. Basically, you'll have to excuse my Yorkshire accent, by the way. But yeah, I've been trying to find something, to help me health-wise for a good 15-20 years. I even bought a wand once. It was a metal wand with one particular company, and that's now in Poland, but that's a long story. I won't go into that. But yeah, that's been my. I've been, like I said, I must have been in 15-20 different companies in that 15-20 years time. But I think I got introduced to Root in August of last year, and I started on the clean slate for a week. I started on 2 or 3 drops, and then I increased it every 2 to 3 days by 1 drop, which this is what Sandy recommended to me to do. And then the second week I went on 0 in, and I took 1 tablet in the morning. I took everything in the morning on an empty stomach, because again, that was the recommendation. And then I'd say roughly 5 to 6 weeks, I noticed, by the way, I'd had my psoriasis about 15 years, on my elbows, on my arms, on my knees, and on my top half of my legs. And roughly 5 to 6 weeks in, I thought, well, what's going off here? I couldn't see a lot of my psoriasis. I didn't realise it had just about gone. My left side of my body, especially. I don't know if you've heard this scenario before, Clayton, but my left side of my body tended to be a lot clearer than my right side of my body, if that makes sense. You know, my knee and my elbow on my left side, it's just about completely gone.
One side first, then we'll get the other one.
Yeah, yeah. And on the right hand side, my knee and my elbow, it was maybe 60-65% gone. And to this day, on the left hand side, I still am completely free. The psoriasis was gone. I mean, it was unsightly. It wasn't anywhere near as bad as I have seen some, you know, unfortunate people how bad they have had it. But and then again on the right hand side, it has slightly got better. But I remember Mark saying once that it can be very, very resilient. But I do recall you saying, Clayton, that, you know, we've got to give it time. If we allow a month usage for every year old we are, you know, that'll mean I'll have to take it for 5 years or more. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to be on it for as long as I possibly can. Anyway, it's just a part of my daily activities now. You know, I take my clean slate and I. Yeah, someone just remarked about my shoes. Yeah, I had some better shoes than that. I should have put them on, but never mind. So yeah, that's me, where I am with my psoriasis. But I also had a bit of another issue. I mean, my eyesight, I said to Sandy a week or two ago, I think my eyesight, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's got a little bit better because I keep getting signs with my glasses as though my glasses are not doing the job they should be doing, which there was, obviously. They were set up for my eyes.
I was just thinking, Andy, that next time you give a testimonial, we're going to see you without your glasses.
Yeah, yeah. But no, again, that's work in progress. Hopefully, and I can update on that. You know, another time. But another challenge I had. I mean, so it is a bit embarrassing, but I mean, I can tell the story. I mean, I used to go to the toilet, and I used to stand there and stand there and stand there. I mean, and bearing in mind, I was busting to go, and I used to stand there and stand there, you know, and I could be looking at a minute, more, maybe more sometimes, and then all of a sudden, drip, drip. You know, it were a bit of a. I thought, what's going off here? And bearing in mind, I'd had this situation for probably at least 18 months, and I know I should have maybe gone to doctors, but that's another story with me with doctors. I do recall Clayton some time ago mentioning dead doctors don't lie, and I forgot all about it. I forgot all about that series in my life because it was maybe 15-20 years ago that. And but I'm terrible with doctors. You know, I won't. It's a little bit like I heard a story about a dog who was laying on the porch with his master in his rocking chair, if you can imagine it, just picturing it. And this guy used to walk past daily, and this dog used to be whining. Anyway, one particular day, this guy was walking by, and he just happened to say to the dog owner, "What's up with your dog, mate?" He says, "Oh, he's laid on a nail." And the guy says, "Well, why don't he move?" And his owner says, "Well, it's just not quite hurting enough." And that was my scenario with the doctor. Because as I said to Sandy, it must be 20 years since I've been to see a doctor. So I do feel very fortunate that, you know, I've not been in a position where I've basically had to go and see a doctor. I mean, I do keep myself very healthy. I mean, I've got a nickname. They call me Forest Andy. That's my nickname round here, Forest Andy. Because I, you know, I do a lot of walking, not running like Forrest Gump, but anyway. So that was my situation with when I went to the toilet. Basically, I used to stand there and be waiting and waiting, and then, like I say, after maybe a good minute, it just used to drip. And then what I found again, a similar, it was very similar to what the timing with the psoriasis disappearing. Again, 5 to 6 weeks, I just noticed when I went to the toilet, it started flushing out. Soon as I got to the toilet, it started it were they were going, and it was a stream. If you know, I don't want to, you know, upset your tummy or anything like that, but you know, it was just flowing. It was just flowing out. And again, this were around about 5, 6 weeks, and obviously, I was up to 10 clean slate in the morning and 10 at night by then. And I did have an accident once when I think I mentioned it, when I tipped the bottle up without knowing it, and it fell in my coffee. Whether that helped it as well, I don't know. But yeah, that's my story. I mean, I have got a little bit to add to the urinating situation. On one occasion, I got a little bit of pain when I started to wee, and I didn't take any notice of it. But from that period, 5 or 6 weeks, from August and now we're January, obviously, I've had 3 occasions where I've got a little, nothing bad, but a little pain when I start weeing. And each time it's gone. After a day, after maybe 2 or 3 days, it's gone. And I just wondered if you've ever come across anything like that, Clayton.
Well, you're hitting on subjects that most guys don't want to talk about, you know, which I think is really, really crucial. How with you know, one from a flow standpoint, but what we're looking at and what we're really talking about is prostate health. And do you find yourself sleeping through the night now? You don't have to get up at night to go to the bathroom?
I very rarely get up to go to the bathroom, Clayton. Maybe once in a blue moon, maybe. Yeah. No, I don't. And that was something that I did get up in the night before this all changed.
So it's the fun part of figuring out how, you know, just as we hit on, you know, how your body responds to the process and the areas that are of most importance. And no, it's awesome. Yeah, so I appreciate it.
So our next guest is Teresa, and in 2008, she had a brain tumor and was later diagnosed with thyroid cancer. Her treatment lasted 12 long years, and during her treatment years, she had over 30 MRIs with contrast medium gadolinium and was later diagnosed with gadolinium toxicity. And so here to tell us about her journey with gadolinium toxicity is Teresa.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. Welcome
Hi,
to the
can
call.
you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. Well, it all started back like Dr. Dory had mentioned. I had a brain tumor. It was a meningioma, which was non-cancerous. And over the course of 12 years, I had quite a bit of treatment. Every time I had an MRI, I ended up getting a injection, IV injection, and it just kept giving me more and more. Well, the first 3 months, I believe, I probably already had 10 MRIs. And by the time went on, probably about maybe 4 or 5 months into my journey, I'd had my tumor removed, but then I started getting really, really sick, started getting super, super depressed, feeling really lethargic a lot. I felt just so heavy. And actually I was in a mode of, at one point I was ready to go and commit suicide. I was actually had everything arranged in my home, had my jewelry boxed out, marked everything, and I don't have a lot of jewelry, but what I did, I wanted to make sure that the people had it. I didn't have a will at that time, but I had marked out who got what, and then went out and sat on a log in the woods and cried a lot, and it was just really, really kind of devastating for me. Well, I thought, nope, I can't do this, because I know God has a journey for me, and it was by the grace of God that I did walk out of that woods. And not gonna lie, it started out, my pain level was over. I mean, I can't even give you a number. I mean, the pain just was so severe. The headaches were so bad. I started noticing colors, and different colors in my skin. I started growing different growths on my face. It was just devastating, because like I said, I could not get my health back, and it was just, my eyes would get real red, and they would seep like gritty, grindy stuff out of them. They would get red and bloodshot. I couldn't hardly see. My vision changed. My whole personality, to be honest, changed. And as the years go by, here it is, we're going to take you to 2015. I was so sick. I'd already been diagnosed with that brain tumor, like I said, had it removed, had a thyroid cancer. And I believe that the thyroid ended up getting removed, and things got really bad after so many MRIs. So I got rid of all of that. Well, the doctors couldn't really distinguish if it was the thyroid, if it was they said I was having seizures and all, I mean, it just, the list goes on. But anyhow, I went to a naturalist, and he gave me, a handful of supplements. And I probably lived like that for probably about maybe a year. No difference. It was no difference. And I just kept, doing what I could do to get me through to the next step. Well, then I moved here to Nashville, Tennessee, and it seemed like that the weather changed a little bit for me, and it was really nice. And I was around my grandchildren, and it seemed I was pretty happy for the most part, but not really. But the pain was the worst thing for me. It went down into the tissues, into the bone, and it just felt like you couldn't touch me or I would break. That's how much pain I was in. And the thoughts of suicide would pop up every now and then again. And I had a miserable life. Well, going on to, I tried different shakes. I tried liver cleanses. I tried kidney cleanses. I even tried a different zeolite. And the zeolite, that was really, really bad for me. It was so bad. I'm just going to tell you, this is in my testimony. I just would make sure, what you're taking, clean slate is clean. But this zeolite that I took, it about killed me. I was ready to go to the hospital thinking that I was having either kidney stones or something, but it was just so painful. Was up all night long. And so Kathy Joe, which is here, she called me and she says, "Hey, Teresa, I got something for you to try." She goes, "I want, this is really working. It's helping getting toxins out, helping getting heavy metals out." And I said, "What is it?" She says, "Well, it's a zeolite." And I said, "Oh, no. So I said no. And during that time of about 30 days or so, I was so miserable with pain, with just brain fog, and just not being able to know where I was at from one minute to the next. And I had a lot of I have a lot of responsibilities with taking care of grandkids, and doing all kinds of stuff. So I couldn't think from one minute to the next what I was doing. So I decided, okay, Kathy, I'm giving in. I'll try it, because at that point I was pretty desperate. And so I called her, and she said, okay, just, you know, she showed me exactly what to do. She's been there with me. So I signed up, I got my bottle. I was so excited to get the bottle. And I took, actually I took 3 drops, and I thought, oh, I can't do that. So I backed off to 2. I was on 2 drops for probably about a month, maybe a month and a half to 2 months. And every time I tried to get to that 3rd drop, I just started getting some pains and just some discomfort. So I backed off, went and stayed on it. And then it just, I thought, okay, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm going to go to that 3rd drop. Then Zero In came in, and actually Zero In helped me to cope with all of the discomfort that I was actually going through. So not only is it help you keep focused, it actually helps you stay focused and concentrate. And then, believe it or not, I think it really kind of helped me a little bit with my pain. Well, about probably 2 months to 2.5 months in, I was feeling amazing. I thought, holy moly, this is just, I have not felt like this in years and years. And the pain was going away, and I wasn't getting those headaches, and I was able to focus on what I was doing. And I'm going to just tell you guys, I am so over the top with this stuff. I don't miss a dose. I might miss a pill, but I do not miss a dose of Clean Slate, because I just, matter of fact, I'm now on 10 and 10 and loving it. And every now and then in the mid-afternoon, I may take about 3 or 4 drops, just because I guess I tell myself I just want to get rid of this stuff out of me. So that's kind of what it is. But it's changed my life. I have my life back. I feel like I've been back to where the brain tumor started, and I am moving forward. Now I do all kinds of stuff. I clean houses, and I can stand up, the stamina, I clean them, and I'm a very good cleaner. I'm a nanny, and I am en route. So it is just simply amazing. Clayton, I just want to thank you, and Dory, I want to thank you for having me. And this has been an amazing journey for me. It has definitely given me my life back to where I can actually feel like I am a human being again. So I just want to thank you.
Ruining my beginning of the day. There's a couple comments that are sharing the same things, because I'm trying to hold back tears right now, and I know there's a few people who aren't. By the way, your hair looks freaking amazing.
I know.
You.
I was
and
looking
you know
at that too.
And actually, I was going to mention that too. My hair was actually falling out, and it got super thin. And just within a couple of months, I mean, it is thick, and it is just, I mean, I love it. It looks, I mean, I've always had long hair, but I was ready to get it all cut off because I couldn't, it was getting frizzy and ugly.
So there's a project that I want to do with you.
Okay.
Because there's an individual, so her story, I think they came out with her story 2 years ago. And her husband is known for being able to solve any problem on earth. His name is Chuck Norris. I
tried to reach out, believe it or not, I tried to reach out to his wife.
Because Christy's actually suing a couple pharmaceutical companies because of this exact issue.
Oh yeah, there's some huge lawsuits right now.
And I've had so many, over the last few years, I get so many emails from people asking about gadolinium toxicity.
Well, the muscle, and also the muscle spasms and the tingling and all of that, the neuro part of all of this is just, all of that has went away completely. I don't feel any of those. I don't get it's just been, I mean, this product has been my savior.
Now we're going to have our next guest, and here to talk to us today about multiple sclerosis is Deborah. MS is currently classified as an autoimmune disease of the central nervous system, the brain, the spinal cord, and the optic nerves. This type of disease attacks the myelin and the protective covering of the nerves, causing inflammation and often damaging the myelin, as you can see here, healthy myelin, and here demyelination is here. You can see how it's destroying the myelin sheath there. So if the damage to the myelin is slight, nerve impulses travel with minor interruptions. However, if damage is substantial and if scar tissue replaces the myelin, nerve impulses may be completely disrupted and the nerve fibers themselves can be damaged. So here to tell us about her results is Deborah. Hello, welcome to the call.
Hi, so I don't know quite where you want me to start with this. So, because I've never really spoken about my condition publicly before.
Well, you could just start with so, you started with, 1 to 2 drops, right? Twice a day.
Yeah, I did. And I was diagnosed relatively recently in the scheme of things at the end of 2016. But before then, I knew that something wasn't right, and I had actually been diagnosed with osteoarthritis, and I sort of put my walking and my unease of walking and my kind of lack of coordination down to osteoarthritis, because I'd had MRIs and that's what it had shown. And then I thought, no, this it doesn't feel right. And a friend of mine who's a nurse looked at me and she said, I know plenty of people with osteoarthritis and they don't walk like you do. I think you need to go and see a neurologist. So I went to see a neurologist and I was diagnosed with MS after a series of different MRIs and tests where they wired up my brain and my feet and did lots of sort of electrical circuit tests. And so that was a big shock because I didn't know what it would mean. And I think the shock of the diagnosis sent me into a bit of a spin. And as a result, I had what I now understand was a big sort of MS attack, and I couldn't walk. And it ended up with me basically falling flat on the ground and basically waiting until some paramedics came and picked me up and put me back on my feet, because I didn't even have the strength to get back up again. So over the period of a year, I started to be able to walk again, and it was quite devastating. Obviously, just imagine that you can't walk, and you could walk before, and then you can't. It was devastating, and I was on crutches, and I was saying to Sandy, I could sort of manage to get to the kettle to make a cup of tea. But once you've made a cup of tea, then what? You have to take it somewhere. And if you're on crutches, you can't really carry a mug or anything. And at the time, my partner was working away from home, so we'd leave on a Monday and come back on a Friday night. And I was so literally on my own with 2 very exuberant deerhounds and trying to run a business. And it was really difficult. But fast forward to taking the clean slate, over the years, people have had suggested lots of different natural therapies to me. So when my friend Marina said, oh, I've got something that was going to help, I took it with good grace because I knew she meant well. But I thought, oh, well, I wonder what this is going to bring. Because my experience is I'd had a few things that had helped: healing and raw food, and I'm a raw food chef, so that was handy. I did a green juice fast, which was very sort of cleansing, and I did that for 3 months, and that was hard: wheatgrass and green juice. So Marina said, look, I'm so convinced about this that is going to help you. I'm going to send you a bottle. And I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. And so I took 1 drop in the morning and 1 at night. And this was started mid-September. And then I said, well, how do I take it? What do I do? And to be quite honest, I still don't know what it is I am taking. I mean, I've looked at the product, but I've just sort of been doing what she's told me to do. So I took it in the morning, and I increased by 1 drop a day up to 10 drops. And so that's where I've stayed. So currently I'm doing 10 drops in the morning and 10 in the evening. And she kept texting me saying, how are you getting on? How are you getting on? Well, I started taking it probably about 2 weeks after one of my dogs passed away. So I wasn't in the best state. I literally just sort of got on the couch and pulled the duvet over me, and I wasn't wanting to engage with anything in the world. So I wasn't really in touch with how I was feeling, and I was probably feeling worse than I would have done normally anyway. So I kept saying, well, I think there's a bit of a difference, but I don't really know. And she said, keep taking it, keep taking it. So I kept taking it. And then after a couple of weeks, I thought, oh, no, I'm feeling like a bit like my old self again. But the thing is, with any sort of condition you're diagnosed with, you sort of forget what your old self was. And I felt that I just had a new normal, you know, and actually coming to terms with a new normal is really difficult. And so if you're very active before, and then you can't be active, and you've got to sort of redefine your life around this new sort of set of, parameters of what you can and can't do, it was really tough. So I have noticed that I'm walking a lot better now, and after probably about a month, I said to her, no, I think this is making a difference. And I said, what's this other product they've got on the website? So I had a look at that, and I said, oh, is it going to help with brain fog? Yeah, okay, well, I get a lot of that. So I started taking the 0. So I've been taking 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening, and it's made a massive difference. So one of the things about MS, I mean, everyone's MS is different. You know, everyone experiences it differently, even though there's a broad set of symptoms. So if you had 100 people with MS in the room, they would all have similar symptoms, but it manifests differently in every person. So brain fog was a big one for me, and having, you know, running a business, holding lots of different bits of information in my head, holding lots of different conversations in my head, and having lots of different ideas, I just couldn't do it. I was having to develop strategies to remember things, you know, like writing everything down in a way that I'd never had to do that before. But anyway, no, it's just completely changed. It's amazing, really. And I still don't know what earth I'm taking. I mean, maybe you could enlighten me.
That'll be on the next call.
For whatever it is I've been taking, thank you. I keep saying to Marina, what is it? How does it work? She said, well, it's zeolite. And she said, it works a bit like it's a sort of a cage, and it takes the heavy metals. And I thought, I didn't even know that MS could be as a result of heavy metals. I mean, you know, and so that's the bit that I can't quite get my head around, because my neurologist, I mean, when I went to see my neurologist, and I've seen him quite frequently, you know, he said, oh, we're going to put you on this, they wanted to put me on a monthly infusion of something toxic. And I said, no, thank you. I'm going to do this naturally. And he said, oh no, you know, I could definitely get you on this sort of very good treatment. And I was so grateful that he could do that, because not many people get to go on these particular treatments. But I said, no, I just don't want to do it, because I just don't know what it's going to do to me in the long run. And I'm sure I can tackle this naturally. So I'm at a stage now where I'm tackling this through gut health and clean slate. And I'm walking, and I'm able to stand up and run classes, obviously not physically because we're in a pandemic, but I'm doing them now. I'm doing master classes from my kitchen online. And I would never have done that before. I wouldn't have had the confidence, because the thing about MS is it just shakes the very core of you, you know, so it just really shook my confidence as much as anything else. So I didn't really want to stand in front of anyone. It was different when I was running classes because I could sort of sit on a stool and people who came to the classes, I could tell them, look, I've got MS, so I'm going to need you to get up the ladders to get the ingredients. But no, it's completely changed.
So here to tell us about Laurie's results is his daughter, Tracy. Tracy, are you there? Where is Tracy? Oh, there. Had to unmute her.
There we go. Hey, sorry, I had to mute myself. I was coughing earlier. Hi, everybody. Wow, I don't even know where to start.
Start from the beginning.
Absolutely blown away by what's happening with my dad so far. We're on week 3 of being on the products. And so far, wow, he has been through so much. You know, started with trauma right from the age of 4 years old, was in boarding school by 4. His mum died when he was 5, was brought to the UK when he was 12. And so that meant he left his dad behind too. And so lots of trauma built up in my pops over the years. He worked and still works for years and years, no mask or anything like that. Has had so many surgeries, has done so many things to his body, had a motorbike accident where he went under a bus, has had lots of surgery there, in his lifetime had 8 major surgeries. And the latest thing was Lewy body, and he got diagnosed with what I thought was cardiovascular dementia in 2018, and then he had a stroke last October, which affected his speech and his emotional aspect. And then they decided that he'd got Lewy body dementia. He was definitely got Parkinson, so his arms would shake a lot, his lip quivers, if he focuses on anything, his lip quivers. And since being on the products, we started off 1 drop clean slate. For 2 days was 1 drop. And then on day 3, we went up to 2 drops. And then I started to increase him just 1 drop at a time. By day 4, we noticed such a difference. This man couldn't walk by himself. It took me and my mum to walk him down the hallway, to take him to bed, to take him to the bathroom. And he started after day 4 to take himself.
Tracy, can I just stop you for a minute? Because I have the 2 videos loaded up, like before you started with the clean slate and then like after, and then you can talk about those. Because I think if people see, you know, the difference, because I think it's pretty amazing. So I'll go ahead and start this one here. This is taken before, right, you started the clean slate. Is that correct?
Yeah, way before. Yeah, this is in March.
March 2020, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you talk? Can you talk?
Can we talk to you?
Are you able to say something?
I love you.
I know you know me. How are you feeling? Not good.
This is 2 weeks after clean slate and 0 in. Is that correct, Tracy?
Yeah. Okay, here's the birthday boy today. Right, Dad, how are you feeling?
I'm really good.
You're feeling really good? Yeah? Yay, celebrating your birthday.
Yeah.
How old are you today?
78, 79.
That's it, 79 today. Hey, how are you feeling on your drops, your clean slate drops and your 0 in supplement?
Which means this complete kitchen with quartz worktop, sink, tap,
Good.
and all appliances. It's just
Do you feel different?
Yeah.
How do you
I feel all right. I feel well enough.
You feel well enough?
You're well enough, yeah.
Yeah? Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great news, hey?
It is.
Yay, keep it up. Okay, sure. Okay, so yeah, so by day 4, we started to see a difference and him being able to walk himself to the bathroom. Physically, we've seen lots of changes. lots and lots of changes. Also, over the last 18 months, he dropped 4 stone in weight. And they'd found that he got a thyroid issue as well now. And his weight was just rapidly declining. His eating was getting less. He was just literally, he'd eat a pea-size amount of food and say he was full. And since then, he's eating more. He's put on some weight actually in this last week, which is awesome. And today he asked my mom if she'd take him out for a walk, and he walked around the block by himself unaided.
Wow.
3 weeks. But what I was going to say was we did 10 days on clean slate only. But as soon as he took 0 in, wow, what a difference. So he's taken 2 0 in as well now. And that dopamine, what a difference. That blows. He's so funny. My dad hates taking medication, and he's like a little bird. I walk in the room with clean slate, and he's got his mouth open before I even get to him. And he asked for his 0 in. And if you see the video, he's like, he said to me, "You made me cry." He said to me, "Thank you for never giving up trying to find a way to help me." And to see that impact, to see the difference, and to see what's going on with just such a short space of time. I can't wait to see what happens over the next 3 months.
We're talking 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, we're only in week 3 now.
Hold on while I go find a tissue. God bless it. I am. I can't. It's my personality to laugh. I try to find humor in everything, and I mean, my grandfather died from PSP, which is progressive supranuclear palsy, which is what Dudley Moore died from, which is a neurological condition that's caused by mercury, just different symptomology, kind of like Deb was talking about. And I watched my grandfather choke to death over time. And I'm going to lose it, but to hell with it. I'm not going to be able to talk in 10 minutes. To hear what you guys are talking about is what we live for. So thank you. I play some videos, Dory, because I'm crying here. I can't help it.
Okay. I'm going to share. Let me just share this video here.
So you can use them on YouTube. But it's like where his legs would just collapse. He would just absolutely collapse. So like Deb was saying with the MS, very similar. His legs would just buckle.
Mm-hmm.
And it would take 2 of us to pick him back up again. And he hasn't had that in the last 3 weeks.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. It's the quality of life it's given him. It's brought that back, and for the family, it's amazing to see that.
From the beginning, because you have had a unique experience. So can you share with, I'll hit on some stuff as we go, but can you hit on how you ended up in your position initially, and then what the process has been for you, and then we'll talk through it. And I'm going to try not to.
Okay. In the process of 2001, 2002, over about an 8-month period, I got arsenic poisoned. And ended up getting real sick, and all the doctors ended up doing is just giving me a bunch of steroid shots and sent me home. Well, that didn't do too much to me, and it kept getting worse and worse. And then finally, in November 6th of 2007, I woke up 100% blind. 3 weeks later, went deaf, and then started losing weight like crazy. You could look at me every minute by minute and see me just shriveling up. I got put in the hospital and ended up with CML leukemia. And the doctors ended up saying that leukemia was caused by a high arsenic poisoning. And they started me on the harsh chemo, finished that, and then I was on daily, still I'm on daily doses morning and night of chemo pills. According to the doctors, blood work was getting better, but physically I was just getting worse and worse. I lost everything in Colorado and had to move back with my mom here in East Texas, where we have the 100-degree temperatures in the summer and 70–80% humidity a lot of days. I couldn't even walk outside for 2 minutes without getting sick. And I was just getting sicker and sicker physically, but the doctors say, oh, you're doing better and better. I was always hurting inside. Everybody says, oh, all you got to do is just fight. At the point where I was hurting so bad, I couldn't even fight. All I could do was just try to survive. And a friend that Mom had on the internet or trying to help make money with got me in touch with Clayton. And Clayton said, here, let me let you try this product and see if it'll make a difference or not. Of course, other people had sent me all kinds of stuff through the years before I had met Clayton. Big horse pills, drink gallons of this and that. It seemed to be a difference. And then Clayton sent me a few bottles of this little liquid and take just a couple drops a day, starting off. And I looked at my mom and says, you got to be kidding. All this other stuff I've done, this is going to make a difference. And then I started taking it thinking, okay, I'll just, Clayton's been a nice helping me with this product. I'll ease him and go ahead and take it. Well, after a week being on it, I didn't notice anything, and then started the second week and moved up a little bit, and he had me start taking a high dosage of it. And then finally, all of a sudden, I started getting cramps like crazy and going to the bathroom every 45 minutes, and I could see my body cleaning out stuff. And then we were 4 months after I started this, I ended up we were going to go to a family reunion that at first we weren't going to go to. And then ended up where in that 4-month period, I felt so much better on it that I could even go outside for about a half hour and pick up sticks and just do a little yard work. I couldn't even do 5 minutes ahead of time. And then that family reunion is coming up, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to work real hard to try to do enough cleanup, because every day I would get out there and do like 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I didn't realize how long it had gotten. And then we had about a day and a half before the family reunion. I got outside in the early morning and said, okay, before the July heat hits, I'm going to get out there and do everything I can. I got to bed early the night before. I worked outside for almost 4 hours. Came inside, just thought I was going to die. But to me, I was happy just being able to do 4 hours worth. Mom fixed me dinner because I couldn't even eat, hardly fix anything. I was so tired. Took about an hour and a half nap. Got up, looked at my mom and said, I feel like I'm good enough to go outside and work some more. And I haven't been able to do anything at this point in almost 10 years. So this product has really changed my life.
So it's a couple questions, because like you mentioned, and I'd love for you to touch on how you were arsenic poisoned. But
okay,
you're not wearing glasses, and you don't have anything in your ears to help you hear other than earbuds. So
earbuds.
Why is your vision better?
Cleaning out the detox, cleaning out. It's helping me. I still have to have them to read close up, but
you're not blind anymore. You were clinically.
I know. I was 100%. I was classified as clinically blind. Yes, I was. To be legally blind, you're at 2200, and my left eye now I'm at 20/70, and that's my left eye. My right eye, I'm still legally blind in my right eye, but my left eye I am not. And when I first came down with leukemia, after a few months, they did eye surgery on me just for the aesthetics, so I would not lose my eyeballs from what the leukemia caused. But they have gotten a lot better. And the reason why, go ahead.
No, keep going.
And Clayton said, wanted me to talk on what happened with the arsenic poisoning. I got married, and my ex ended up having a brain tumor. She went in and had surgery, and they took the brain tumor out, and she physically recovered, but mentally got crazier. And she decided she wanted to commit suicide, so she was going to poison me with arsenic, because she said I was too nice of a guy and she didn't want anybody else to have me, but she was going to commit suicide. So the course of about 8 months, that's how I got the arsenic poisoning.
And then one night she just mega dosed you, right? And that was the tipping point.
Right, and that's when I got real sick, and they realized what was going on. Ended up being an investigation, but since her parents were millionaires, they had the right lawyers that could fight, and I didn't have that. And so they ended up just putting her on 7 years probation, but then I got a lifetime of this. Well, maybe not a lifetime if I stay on this product.
So we've gone 5 years now, and I think one thing that you missed is you were also type 1 diabetic, correct?
Yes, I am. Yes.
So I remember having conversations that your insulin levels changed a little bit, right? Your use of insulin has changed.
Oh, I'm taking a third of the insulin I used to take. And the A1C is, for the doctors, they can't believe that I'm a type 1 diabetic with what it is. It's usually under.
Oh, hold on. I muted you. Hold on. You got to unmute.
Okay.
There we go.
Usually the A1C is usually right around 7 or slightly under 7. And for diabetics, they usually 7 is usually where they try to keep it, and it's usually below that. And I got so much more energy and strength. And at that time, I was also trying to go to the gym just to gain some strength, because beforehand, I still own some of the records for the strongest guy in some of the gyms in Colorado, because I was big into the weightlifting. Well, after all this happened, I was 206 pounds of solid muscle. And when the leukemia hit, I lost down to 86 pounds. I couldn't even walk on my own. I am now back up to about 155 pounds. Up until this virus started, I was working out in the gym. Like right now, I'm not. So I've lost some strength. But I couldn't hardly get any strength back at all. And then when I started taking this and it started cleaning me out, I started getting some pretty good strength back. So it made a big difference in that too. And I texted Clayton the other day and told him my allergies now, I used to have big allergies, have to take Benadryl all the time. When I was a kid, if I ever got stung by a wasp, I mean, you had them rush me to the hospital. My allergies are non-existent. And I was helping work and building a little goat pen 2 weeks ago, and I got 7 hornet stings around my ankle, and I didn't have to go to the hospital once, and didn't really do too much. I didn't really have any reaction except just slight swelling. Before, I would have been to the hospital and probably spent a couple of days in there.
Tell me about your mom, because this was one of the fun conversations that we had, right? Because after a month or so of when we first started, we started to have conversations about what your improvements were, and then you asked about your mom.
Sure.
She could use some. So talk about her a little bit, what her issues were, and then what you guys have found for her.
My dad passed away in 2000. So right when he passed away, my mom was teaching school. And of course, they tried to get everybody to take the flu shot. They've been brainwashed. Anyway, so my mom thinking, oh, my dad's passed away. She's alone. Who's going to take care of her? Because I'm living in the mountains of Colorado. So she ended up taking the flu shot. She had a reaction to the flu shot that took over a year to recover. And with that, she came down with all the symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis, joint swelling, and skin lupus. But every time they did the blood work, it wasn't there. It didn't show that that's what it was, but she had all the butterfly breakouts and joint swelling. And the only thing then they finally correlated it to the flu shot. And she had constantly had problems with that. And as long as she's on this product, keeping her cleaned out, she couldn't go out in the sun more than like 30 seconds without getting spots breaking out on her. And when Clayton said she could start taking some of the product, now all the lupus butterflies on her skin have all gone away. She can go outside and do a little bit of workout in the heat and not have much problem. And the joints don't tend to affect her near like what they used to with that rheumatoid arthritis symptoms. Almost all that's gone away. She only has a little bit of symptoms that show up if she spends too much time, like an hour, hour and a half outside.
I think we all do, though.
Yeah. To me, one of the greatest of the testimonies of what it did for me is we have about 2.5 acres out in the back pasture. And when I first got sick in Colorado and lost everything, I had to come back here, my mom had to sell the tractor so we could even eat to live for a little bit. And so that back pasture had gone almost 10, 12 years without even mowing it. Well, here in East Texas, when you get 100, 110 inches of rain in the first of the season and the humidity, it grows like a jungle. I knew a couple of people that one of them had a 44 horsepower tractor and a 65 horsepower tractor, and they bush hog for a living, and they would not take the field down. They wouldn't do it. They said it's too overgrown. You're going to have to get it bulldozed. Well, and an old guy in the church heard about it, and he gave me his DR brush trimmer, 15 horsepower, walk behind bush hog, and I manually took down that field. Now, I didn't do it all in 1 or 2 days. I'd get out there and work for an hour, hour and a half every day over the course of a good month, month and a half, and I took it all down. When I look out that back pasture, I think there's no way I could have done that without this product, because I couldn't even walk outside and carry 20 pounds. And then I manhandled that DR brush trimmer and took down the whole pasture. Now I can use the zero turn and just maintain it like it's nothing.
I got to take a second because I can't get this grin off my face. Because as you know, we've waited to do this for a long time. So, because I wanted to get this story, but for everybody that's here, what else would you say? And I'm going to let you go because I'm going to rant about this for a little bit for everybody else. What else would you give for insight, or if someone would say, hey, I'm thinking about trying this, would you recommend it?
Oh, completely. I was hurting and doing so bad that I would say I would never have committed suicide. But I was doing so bad that I really did not even have the will to live. I was hurting so bad. And taking this product relieved all that pain and pressure inside. At times I could feel my organs vibrating and spasming, and I don't feel that anymore. I don't hurt inside anymore. I have energy. I want to get up and do things. It's not, no pun intended, willpower making me do it. It's because I want to do it. I can't even, like I've told Clayton before, I can't imagine feeling better. And Clayton says, you're not even there yet. And then the next time I talk to him, I'm like, I feel better. And he's like, you're not even there yet. I can't imagine. It's just incredible to me. The difference it's made in my life. I've got a handwritten testimony by a lady friend that works used to work where I work now. She, when I first started working, I was yellow, jaundice looking because all the chemo and it's building up in my liver and stuff, causing all kinds of problems. And I don't have that anymore. None of the jaundice. I can actually go out and get a suntan anymore when they say it's almost impossible and I'm still taking chemo. I don't get sunburn really anymore. My body will respond and get a little tan.
It's nice to be healthy again, or On your way back.
On the verge to be on
Yep.
the way back, yes.
Yes, thank you. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome in 2013, and it was, interestingly, it was very shortly after I'd had some of my teeth removed, and those teeth had, I suspect, had some amalgam fillings in them. And I actually asked this question before starting with Clean Slate, and I think it was Clayton who identified that that was probably the cause of my chronic fatigue syndrome starting. Prior to that, I had already had adrenal fatigue for, gosh, probably 15 years or so. But it really got very serious in 2013 when I actually got a formal diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome. And it was so bad that I had to sell my business. I couldn't carry on with the business anymore. I was really virtually, excuse me, virtually bedridden. I would do an hour of gardening and then have to be in bed for 6 hours, and then couldn't do anything really much for the next week or so. So it was really quite bad. And when I had to sell my business, that was like a wake-up call. I thought there's something wrong here. So I went to the doctor, just got the usual sort of brush-offs from them. There's nothing we can do for you. All your blood tests are normal. There's nothing we can do until you have blood tests that show something. And of course, the blood tests were always normal. And I have had hundreds of blood tests, and it's every month or every 2 months, it's a different thing. It might be this, it might be that, and so on and so on. It carried on. But basically, things were just getting worse and worse until eventually I decided that I wasn't getting any help from the medical profession. I'd have to take control of this myself and kind of start healing myself. So I set about changing my diet and doing the usual kind of thing, you know, taking lots of supplements, and I take an awful lot of supplements. I got to the point where I just had that last 10 or 15% of wellness that I couldn't achieve. You know, I'd got so far and I got myself back into full-time work, but I still had that last bit of struggle. I still wasn't 100% well. And I actually had to ask them at work, I had to negotiate a change of working hours because I wasn't coping very well with the early mornings and, you know, long hours and not taking enough breaks and so on. So I negotiated a later start in the morning. But, you know, and then Sandy said to me, he'd been on Clean Slate for, I think, a couple or 3 months, and he started talking to me about it and telling me about the amazing results he was having. And one thing that really attracted me to it was that he said it was decalcifying his pineal gland, and that, as you know, is you know, that kind of sharpens the intuition and it gives you more clearer focus and all that kind of thing. So I started on Clean Slate, and almost immediately I noticed more energy. But the biggest, I can actually relate to everything that all of the previous 3 speakers have said. Almost everything that they've said are things that I've had, apart from the psoriasis. I haven't had psoriasis, but the liver issues, skin problems. My skin issues really have come from food sensitivities, and I've only recently discovered that actually the reason those food sensitivities present themselves in my skin is because of liver issues. So I've started to think, what can I do about dealing with my liver issues? But I've noticed that since taking Clean Slate, a lot of my food sensitivities have started to disappear. So that is a major thing for me, because food sensitivities really control my life. It limits where I can go, what I can eat, who I can be with, how much I can travel. You know, it's just a really big issue in my life, food sensitivities. So I've noticed that, for example, histamine intolerance has gone. I don't have, my doctor said to me, you can never eat strawberries again in your life, because you have a, you know, because at one point I was getting a histamine kind of reaction to strawberries and various other foods, fish and various things, but I don't get any of that anymore now. I was actually eating strawberries earlier today, and normally my lips would have been swollen and I would have had all of the itching and everything else, but I've got none of that now. the other thing that Marsha was saying, and I think I'd got to this point where I started to think, and friends of mine actually said to me, I think you've got ADHD. And I was saying, no, I've never had ADHD. That's not a thing for me. What it feels like is exactly how Marsha was saying, and Django was saying, it feels like your thoughts are just really chaotic. And I really struggle to focus and concentrate, especially at work. It would take me a whole day to finish my work, and to not even finish my work, and then I'd have to stay late. I'd have to stay an hour or two late in the evening just to finish that day's work. And now, like today, I finished all my work by 4:30, and I was ready. I started getting ready for this meeting and started thinking, getting my notes ready and everything, because all my work was done. But it used to feel like, I used to describe it like ants, having ants in my head, ants going all over the place. It's like signals firing off in all different directions. And all of that is now completely gone. So I have a much more calm and focused way of dealing with things. So I'm not getting so anxious and stressed and panicky about things. People used to say to me, you're so highly strung. And I'd say, well, that's because of the way my brain works, And now it's like the ants have gone. It's the best way I can describe it, is the ants nest in my head with ants going all over the place. They've all gone. Another thing that was mentioned, I think in Dory's slide, was about eyesight. Now, I know I'm still wearing my glasses today, but I got to the stage where I was like this on the screen. It was like my lenses were fogged up the whole time. There was no clear, no matter how much I cleaned the lenses, I still couldn't see clearly, and it was getting worse. And I started to get these little black spots in front of my eyes. And so when I researched that, I went onto YouTube and watched a lot of videos, and everyone was saying this is because of debris in the eyes and toxic buildup. And I was thinking, well, how do you clean that up? So I started doing eye exercises, and I've been doing eye exercises for about a year to try and get the muscles to work better, to improve the blood flow. But it only got me so far. There was a slight improvement, and my optician noticed an improvement, but it wasn't enough for me to say, right, I don't need my reading glasses now. I can see clear. I don't have that. It was the kind of like almost like a film across my eyes. And earlier today, I was thinking, actually, I noticed that that's completely gone. I'm actually looking at the screen quite normally, and I'm not trying to clean my glasses every few minutes, because it feels like there's some kind of dirt or film on the lenses. So that's all gone. I've got a list here of probably about 20 or 30 different things improvements that I've noticed. But another thing I've noticed, this is really interesting, Clayton, you might have some comment on this. On my sort of the top of my leg, on my hip, I've noticed this sort of round, like a patch of rough skin coming up, and I've noticed it there. And when I took a close look at it, I could notice little spots, red spots all the way around. It's like a round mark with little red spots all the way around. And then I remembered that when in the 60s, when I had my vaccinations, and I can't tell you exactly if it was polio or smallpox or what it was, they used to do, at that period in time, they did them on the leg instead of on the arm. So I got mine on the leg, and I suddenly made the connection. I thought, even in those days, they probably used heavy metals in the vaccinations. And this is the clean slate now pushing all that stuff out, which is why I don't know if I'm right in that assumption, but I'm assuming that to me, this is proof that all those heavy metals and all that rubbish that they put in vaccinations and everything that we put into our bodies, all of that is now coming out. Yeah, another thing I said to Sandy as well, I said, I feel like I've got my old personality back. It's like, I used to have to really try to control my moods, and I had to really control my diet so carefully that I didn't eat the wrong thing, because, and Clayton, I don't know if you remember, I asked this question before I started as well, would it affect my copper levels? Because I suffer a lot with copper toxicity, copper overload. And I was really, really concerned that taking clean slate would release too much copper and put too much free copper into my system, and I would start getting all those copper effects again. But none of that's happened. So anyway, I'm sorry I've been talking so much.
Not dead yet.
Minutes. No, I'm not. The thing that I was most concerned about was that my copper levels would be disturbed, but it hasn't. That hasn't happened. So I'm really, honestly, I'm so happy. I'm so happy with the progress I've made. All these different things. Little niggly. My knee pain has gone. My back injury that I struggled with for 2 years has finally properly healed. Do you know? It's just a long list of lots of different things like this. So. But the eyesight improvement that I noticed today, that's been really major. And the biggest thing for me was focus and concentration at work, so that I can actually do my work during the day and finish in time, and I don't have to stay late to finish because it was so difficult for me to concentrate on what I was doing during the day.
So you're getting,
sorry.
getting the question of how long have you been doing this, and have you only been doing 4 drops twice a day?
I'm still only on 4 drops twice a day, and I'll tell you the reason for that in a minute. But I started on Clean Slate on the 5th of September. So it's about 2 months, but I had a week's break in between because I was on holiday and I ran out and I couldn't get the order in and so on. So probably all in all about 7 weeks, 6 or 7 weeks. Yeah, getting on for 7 weeks now.
So the 5th of November will be 2 months. So remember the 5th of November.
From the 5th of September to the 5th of November, it will be.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's just, I honestly, I'm hoping, you know, like Mark with all his bottles and lotions and potions, I've got a whole box full of supplements and things I take. And I'm hoping eventually I'll be able to ditch at least half of those, if not more. You know, if this, especially with my liver thing, because a lot of my issues seem to be related to the liver. And I was so happy to hear what Tommy said earlier about, you know, about the improvement in his liver, because that's the one thing because that will help with my food sensitivities. Another thing that's gone, that's a really major issue for people with chronic fatigue syndrome, is multiple chemical sensitivity. It's called MCS. Dora, you probably heard of that. MCS, it's quite common, but I've noticed that I haven't had any MCS for probably a couple of weeks now.
So would you equate that not to multiple chemical sensitivities, but do you think you could equate it to just a toxic overload?
Yeah.
And your body can't handle anymore and you're in chaos.
Definitely. And you become because you've got so many toxins in you, you become hypersensitive to any toxin in the environment. So, for example, I couldn't sit on a bus or a train near somebody who was wearing strong perfume. And now, just recently, when I've been on the tram, it just hasn't bothered me. And I've been known sometimes to get up and move to a different part of the train or the tram if somebody's got strong perfume on, because that chemical that chemical smell is just too overpowering, and it actually causes me to feel physically nauseous. But I'm fine with that now. You know, I haven't noticed any of that recently.
So I've got a couple things I wanted to ask you about. One, the hip aspect is,
yes,
is your body pushing stuff out? And it's the fun part with Clean Slate, with how Clean Slate works as a mechanism, but also how it allows the body to start doing what it wants to do. And I had some information or an experience with that with one of my closest friends. We've been friends since kindergarten and preschool. But he had contracted poison oak many years ago. And a few years ago, he was on a flight, and because of the air travel, which is a whole other conversation we'll get into at some point, because we're starting to do some really cool stuff with some from people that work in the airline issue that have been poisoned. But so he took about 30 drops before he got on the plane. And then when he landed, he noticed that he had a rash on his leg. And he called and is like, am I having an allergy to using this? I'm like, no, it doesn't cause allergies. What do you have? And he started to explain it just like you were talking about. And then he realized that the exact same location and the exact same look was what he had when he contracted poison oak from going for a walk in the woods. And when he had gone to the doctor, he went to the emergency room to get treatment for him. They told him there was nothing they could do. And he just needed to let it go away. Well, all of those biotoxins seeped into his skin where they were stored there. And as the body pushed it back out, he had the same response again as it cleared.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting to see those function. The other thing is you love strawberries, right?
Yes.
You know, the Environmental Working Group has them as part of their dirty dozen. They are one of the most toxic fruits because of even with organic fruits. And it's the hard part, right? Is we find some things that we really like, and they start adding to our body burden. But now, and it's like for me, there are foods I love that I know are horrible for me. But it's like you talked about, if you know what your body's going to do with them, you can accept it. And you say, okay, if I do this, I'm going to get this outcome, but I can clean up some of the mess. And yeah, so congratulations on the short journey so far. Here's a question for you.
Thank you.
So it's you've had this list of experiences so far. How many bottles have you used?
I'm on my second one, and I'm not even halfway through the second one yet.
And Mark
I've got.
Going, come on, man.
That's my list of all the things I wrote down. I was going to talk about all of them, but I don't think you guys want to stay here for another hour with me. Look, just one thing I wanted to say about the hip thing. Where that vaccination thing has come out, I've had some kind of problem with it's on my left hip, and I've had a problem with my left hip for probably 20 years, as long as I can remember. And I've been to biomechanics specialists, I've been to physiotherapy specialists, I've been to the doctor. They've given me special insoles to wear. They've told me my pelvis is crooked. They've told me my hip isn't straight. It's this, that, and the other. All those sort of things to try and control the hip pain. And they did work somewhat. But every now and then my hip would. And I tell you, the biggest problem I have with this hip is when I'm sleeping. If I sleep in just a slightly off position, then I'll have hip pain the next day. And now that all of this is coming out, I'm thinking, it's probably the toxins that went in at that site that have gathered in my hip and in the hip bones and in the hip joint and everything that's causing this discomfort and the pain. Because another thing that's happened is the soles of my feet were going very numb. And it got to the point where it felt like my skin was about that thick because I literally couldn't feel anything on the bottom of my feet. And now slowly that's all coming back. But as it's coming back, I can feel the nerves coming back alive and becoming more sensitive. So I'm thinking that's probably hopefully what's going to be happening with my hip.
It's called peripheral neuropathy from environmental toxins, which is the primary cause. But I think the easy way to say that is Sandy helped you eliminate a pain in your arse. And I'm going to leave it at that because I've got to get on the other
You're late
webinar.
on the next call.
I'm sorry.
We'll leave it at this. Usually, Sandy is a pain in the arse.
Oh.
But now he's eliminating them. No,
he's not.
You guys, thank you everyone.
Sandy's been a very good friend to me, always.
Yeah, no, and that's the fun part of the best way to help create friends is through sharing, right?
Yeah.
And sharing the love.
You are literally glowing here.
Aren't I just a proper little drop of sunshine there. Yeah, it's look, it's very difficult sometimes for me to actually speak about that. I get quite emotional about it because it's just been quite dramatic, and it's almost like I have to pinch myself occasionally just to where I've been and where I've arrived. So yeah, I mean, shall I fire away now, Dory?
Fire away.
Okay. Right. 10, 12 years ago, I used to play football an awful lot at a very high level. And I used to wear these shin pads on my shins. And I used to get a bit of irritation, I think it was a sweat just building up with the skin. And I was finding myself scratching quite a lot, even after I'd finished the game and I'd washed and showered. And my shins just kept getting very, very inflamed. I thought nothing about it. I just simply related it to that and just used to use a moisturizer and keep myself clean. However, over a period of time, it was quite clear that it was more than this, and it just developed into what is now I know now as psoriasis. I just thought it was just skin irritation. I was wearing different clothes and checking my washing powders and all this sort of thing, but it became very, 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 very scaly. within about 6 to 12 months, and I started to itch and scratch, and it started to move around my body onto my elbows and onto my hands, other parts around the back of my body. And obviously I was diagnosed by a dermatologist having psoriasis, told categorically there's absolutely no cure at all for it. It's an autoimmune. Well, they didn't actually say it was autoimmune at that time. They just simply said it's just incurable. You got to learn to live with it, keep it moisturized, look after it, use some more steroid creams on a regular basis.
Well, speaking about your creams, this is what Mark had to deal with on a daily basis.
Absolutely, absolutely. Got it. I'm glad I kept this photograph. I really am glad I kept these photographs, because it's a real stark reminder, because I was literally, I got to the point where I'm a bit of an anti-pharma. I don't like doctors and I don't like pharmaceutical prescribed drugs, but I was having to take all this stuff. And I kept looking at different options and people making different suggestions, and I was trying literally all of them, because the psoriasis just exploded on my body and it was really getting quite embarrassing. I became quite embarrassed about the whole thing. And then I came over to live in Cyprus. I wasn't able to wear shorts or everything because I was too stigmatized by it. And the sun and the sea actually irritated it even more over here. So I kept buying all this stuff. I took a trip to the Dead Sea in Israel. I lay in the sea for 2 weeks just to simply see if it would help, and it sort of did, but not for long. But yeah, I bought every product you can imagine known to man, and I was prescribed by dermatologists. I would say 50% of what you see there. The rest of it was down to my own abolition. But the way the health system works over here in Cyprus, I'm having to pay for all this stuff myself. And, you know, I could have bought shares in a company, quite honestly, for what I've spent on this. But yeah, so yeah, I was doing this, all of this every day, absolutely every day for the best part of, well, certainly 10 years I was using an amount of stuff, but certainly the last 2 or 3 years I've been using all of this that you see on the screen now. So that was how it all started. That's where it all really sort of became noticeable to me that I got psoriasis. Very grey, very scaly. If you scratch it, it got worse. If you didn't scratch it, it just sat there looking ugly. So you had to keep it moisturized to try and take that grayness down and dullness about it all. So I kept doing that, but then you couldn't help but scratch it. It was unavoidable. And then it used to bleed. And then the next day I'd look at it and it was spread all even further. It became even worse. The last 12, 18 months ago, I went to bed, woke in the morning, found my legs had swollen quite dramatically, and ended up in hospital 24 hours later, being told that I'd either got DVTs or, oh crikey, what's something else. But anyway, they said there was a possibility of me having my leg amputated, or both my legs amputated.
Well, in this wet face here, you had the cellulitis here.
Absolutely, right? Cellulitis throughout. That's a section of my leg across my shin, but the whole leg was infected, and that's why they put me in a course of charcoal down the middle there, coal tar and charcoal. So that took the inflammation down. To be fair to the coal tar and the charcoal, it took the inflammation down. But when I was after that, you can see the dryness and the scaliness of the skin afterwards on the third photograph. That's how I was left. And it was, I have to tell you, something you can't explain is a sensation. It was my legs were on fire. They were just about to, they felt like they were going to explode. There was like an internal itch that you couldn't scratch, but it was just burning all the time, even at that third stage there. So whilst I'd sort of got to the safe, then it just became dry and scaly, but it seemed to spread. It was going further up my legs, and then it became red blistered and a rash. And it was just ugly. It's just horrible.
So the red rash, this was actually after you had been in the hospital. This happened afterwards, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, from my point of view, don't get me wrong. I was thinking, whew, compared to where I've been and the threat of losing my legs, I can live with this, I think. No, I can't. Yes, I can. No, I can't. And then
well, you probably thought you were getting better, and then all of a sudden you're getting, you know, like it's coming back again, right?
Absolutely. And then when it went from the rash, it became a blanket rash. It all turned red raw from literally my ankles up, as you can see on the third photograph. And that was literally from my ankles up to the top of my thighs going towards my groin.
And at this point, this is actually when you started with Clean Slate. Is that correct?
Absolutely. At that point, I jumped in with Clean Slate because I was introduced to it by a wonderful German man, and Thomas. And I said, okay, here we go, another bottle to add to the collection. I will be the museum for psoriasis. Let's just put it on the side there and give it a go. And literally, you can see my elbows from starting after 3 weeks. My elbows return from that to that on the latter picture than now, and the arm and elbow clean. If you look closely at the skin, you can see obviously for what my body's been through, there's going to be a bit of pigmentation damage, you know, and it will take time to recover, and that will happen. I mean, again, during this 3 weeks, if you saw all the blistering down my arm, down my forearm, I was told I'd have to have laser treatment to get rid of the discoloration in my skin, which again didn't enamor me particularly. So this is where I've gone from that grey, clumpy, horrible, scaly clump to now a smooth arm that I still look after. I still obviously I take my Clean Slate, and every day it seems to improve. So yeah, and that's my tummy. Oh, you've not put my Adonis picture on, Dory.
Oh, sorry.
You know, Peter Andre Cypriot, I taught him everything he knows over here. So yeah, obviously I was overweight. I got to the point I was sympathy eating. I was just eating. I think it was shite. I just had enough now. You know, I'd virtually given up the battle, just carrying on with my work, and that was it. But it started to blister on my stomach. And that to me became really quite worrying, because that's pretty close to your organs. Okay. So I'm thinking, what the hell is actually going on here? I really lost direction. So I carried on at this time with methotrexate, which is obviously, as you know, is a form of chemotherapy. And I was on about 15 to 20 milligrams a week. And it seemed to help with the legs and get rid of the stubbornness of it all. But I didn't like the fact I was taking something that was smashing my liver all around the room. I was taking folic acid to balance it off, and oh dear. Real rocket science. Then it turned into this, literally after 3-4 weeks of taking Clean Slate. So my legs and my stomach seem to improve quite dramatically at the same time. And then the third one is, making strides towards my Adonis.
We took this picture yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
Look at how much your waist is leaned out. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I have lost, during the Clean Slate journey, I think it's fair to say that I've probably lost about 15 kilos as an average. I went right down to 20 kilos, but then I started to celebrate in my glory and think, I'm going to have some cake. And I just, you know what, I can be naughty because I'm taking my Clean Slate. I'm taking my Clean Slate and it's balancing off. I'm going from, as I've said to Dory and I've said to a lot of people, I live my life on percentages, 85% good, 15% bad, without the alcohol. So, I've seen that tremendous improvement, and it is not just about, I think I've said before on previous chats we've had, look, the skin and the damage to the skin is awful, but it's the psychological scars. It is absolutely, there is a point. I can understand why people jump off a bridge or do all this sort of stuff. I can understand it. I'm too much of a coward to do that sort of stuff. I'm just, I'm not going to do that. I'm too selfish about my grandchildren, but, so it is the psychological scars, the physical scars, and to be able to see myself like this today, and it's the photos are one thing that Dory's been kind enough to share with you all, but I'm here showing you face up that it's how I am today, and it's just getting better and better. So and there's my legs.
These are amazing.
Run, Forrest, run. But look, I mean, I don't know. Is it psoriasis? Is it leprosy? Is it whatever it is? But, again, being an ex-professional footballer, what I did, I wanted to see the shape and definition coming back in my legs. So if you go to the second photograph, you can see I'm pulling my quads a little bit, but you can see my shin muscle.
Yeah, right here.
My quad muscles,
here.
So I'd lost all of that. That had all gone in a little bit of fat, but obviously it was hidden by the scars. So it was great to be able to see those and, see some colouring taking place. But as I say, I've gone from, that was after 8 weeks, as it says on there. My script is right in front of you, Mark, if you look. And then after 4 months now, where I am today, that's how my legs are today. And I do normally moisturize, but I don't have to. Because I drink 3 to 4 litres of water a day, I think my body is now functioning better through a cleaner liver. and it's actually being distributed to the right places, so my body has got sufficient hydration. But I just have to drink 3 to 4 litres of water a day. It's just the way I'm built. That's what I do. So yeah, crazy, huh? Who are you gonna call? But yeah, that is just, that in itself is, you could just use that slide and that would be, to me, testimony to everything. But again, as I mentioned earlier in the conversation, I've been fortunate, if you like, because if I look at how much I've spent per year, per week, per month, and added it all up, I would say I'm certainly hovering around the 30,000 that I was spending latterly. What appeared to be small amounts per month over that 10-12 year period was exorbitant. And then on top of which I was seeing specialists or so-called specialist dermatologists that don't still relate to skin linked to the liver, and they won't have anything to do with it. But anyway, and then I had 10 days in hospital where they told me I was going to lose my legs. And so that was a $7,500 bill. And then all of a sudden I got a little bottle of 69, Soissons Neuf. And here I am. And I can't thank the team, can't thank the products, can't thank anybody enough. I just thank God more than anything, is because I'm very, very lucky to have. But I think I've earned this as well, because I do listen to my body, and I knew there was something. And saying my good friend Thomas, who introduced me to the concept, could see I was passionate about finding a way out of this. And so he honed me along. I threw a load of cod oil down my system for 3 to 6 months. And then I bounced into root and detoxed very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. Without too overly graphic, I spent a lot of time in a room down the corridor. And
it's interesting that you were taking it just 10 drops twice a day, and you were actually putting it in water, which makes so much sense to me. Actually, after reading this paper, Clayton, because it's actually talking about, like, when you put it in water, instead of because it actually, okay, so I was thinking, because it goes through the gastrointestinal system, right? Actually, it's better to put it in the water. Like, remember I told you, Mark, I take it neat, right? I just pop it in my mouth, right? But the water, it's going to go through a different route. It's really not going to go through that the mucosal lining.
I think what it was, I'd heard Clayton say, you must hydrate, you must keep yourself hydrated, you must take water. And I thought, well, that part of the journey is not a problem, because I'm water. But so I just put 10 drops in the morning in a glass of water, wallop, and same in the afternoon or the evening, did exactly the same. And I did that for literally 3 weeks. And then I started to watch people saying, you know what, that 10 drops scenario, hey, not a problem. You can't seriously actually get to a point of overdosing on this stuff. And I must admit, I enjoy what it's doing to me. So it's on my office desk, literally by the side of me here. And I take it probably 3-4 times a day. Neat, under the tongue.
Mark, I got a question for you.
Go on then.
What industry do you work in?
I'm not telling you. I work in the medical.
You've been in healthcare.
Absolutely. For 6 years, I involved in a business that actually repairs, or actually cures. It cures non-healing chronic wounds, including diabetic ulcerations of the leg. And I'm proud of my business. Joking apart, we take people from black gangrene legs to saving the leg. So that is magnanimous in itself. But I found it ironic. I was lying in hospital 18 months ago being told, you're an ambassador of this company, a director of the company, you are the foot soldier of this company, you ain't gonna have any feet to be a soldier with, because we're potentially gonna take your legs off. And I was like, how can that be? I've not got diabetic ulcers, but I've got psoriasis, and I'm gonna lose my legs through that. And I used to treat myself a little bit with my machine that I use for my patients, and it seems to help a little bit, but it certainly couldn't break down that volume of problem, because it was all over my body. It wasn't just my legs and my arms, it was everywhere. So So no, and I'm now proud ambassador of my equipment, and again, but I do see, and I have had this conversation with Dory, I see there is a definite synergy here, because I can cure the ulceration, but I can't, with my machine, I cannot ask somebody to change their lifestyle and reverse the diabetes, or put it to at least remission. So I think there's a happy marriage taking place there somewhere down the corridor. And there certainly would be, from my point of view, if I greeted with a patient, my clinic's in Switzerland, my main clinic's in Switzerland, and I'm having a bit of dialogue with my my specialist over there. And I think before long he'll be appearing on one of our Tuesday night chats, because I don't think, when I sent him photographs, I don't think he actually believed what I was telling him. So, you know, hey, the proof is in the pudding, and you can call me pudding all day long if you like. But
right. So there was a question that just popped up. Was with your decade, we can say decade of experience, much like Tommy was answering the question. Did your clinicians ever give you an idea of what the cause was, what the etiology?
No, absolutely. If I have been back to my dermatologist here in Paphos in Cyprus, and I've said to them, look, what can you tell me about the relationship between the liver and the psoriasis situation? And, you know, apart from the fact it's broken English and such, this is not this, Mark. It is not this. It is nothing to do with your liver. Your liver is good. I see your blood results every month. They're good. They're fine. But they cannot see the obvious medical synergy between the two. And it's very frustrating. But I think that's probably, I've got to blame Cyprus a little bit, because they do tend to be a little bit, you know.
Yep.
And this Englishman, he come here, he tell me how to suck eggs.
But I think the important part is like Dory had pulled in some of her research, and it's the important part to understand about every part of your body, right? Is when we look at the sequestration of these toxins and chemicals and pollutants, they might not affect enzymes, but they're going to affect other parts of it. And like Dory, when she brought up with me of identifying that psoriasis, eczema, acne are liver toxicity issues with heavy metals and specific viruses in the you can say the correct or the worst case scenario of those combining together, that's what's expressing. And you try to go through some of the published literature, you know, that you see from dermatologists, and none of them know it. I have with my medical consulting company, I have a couple dermatologists that I work really closely with. And this is a subject that they are completely ignorant to. And
I think, like a lot of the medical professions, become very sales orientated. And if you for 1 minute appear to be hitting their bottom line on GP gross profits, woo, they're going to back you away all day long. You know, and that, I understand it. I'm a businessman myself, but at the same time, it is, when I've got such a loud voice over my situation, I feel it's not just a case of, it means they can treat 1,000 patients now rather than 4 or 5, and they can be in and out of their clinic very, very quickly. And they can take the wonderful feeling of being able to say to people, the testimony saying, I've helped all these people, rather than just a small window.
Would you agree in the philosophy, though, that this is wellness is actually a choice, right? You don't go to the hospital, you don't go to the doctor to get well.
No.
You have to, and as you did, I mean, with your journey, and you can see with what you were spending and trying to find a solution, but you can't go to, we can say, the establishment to find a solution, because that's not where you're going to find it.
So there you go. The floor is yours.
Okay. So Django had his MMR when he was 1, and I think it affected him. At the time, I knew he stopped eating most things apart from penne pasta and fish cakes for about 4 years. It was a bit of a nightmare. And then 2 years ago, he was diagnosed with ADHD. Well, we realized he had ADHD. The diagnosis has only happened recently, actually. And through all the reading that I've been doing, I started reading that there's a lot of metals in autistic children, and my brother and my nephew are both autistic, and I know that autism and ADHD is supposed to be related. So I thought, and around the same time I had a chat with Sandy, and Sandy mentioned this clean slate stuff and how it detoxes the body of heavy metals. So I thought, well, I'll give it a try. And I bought some. I think I had ADHD as well, or have ADHD. I had been thinking that for the last couple of years. And then as soon as I started taking the clean slate drops, I did start feeling much less chaotic. So maybe it was just heavy metal poisoning, or maybe ADHD is heavy metal poisoning. Yeah, and a month later, I started taking Zero in as well. And yeah, I feel amazing, to be honest. It was actually in in August, when I went away, our family went away to Portugal for a week. I've got 3 kids, and my partner mentioned at the end of the week to me that I didn't lose my temper for the whole week, and I hadn't even noticed. I just had a really great holiday. And it was only when he said it that I realised that normally, at least every other day, I would totally lose my shit with the kids, at least once. And yeah, it was when he pointed out, wow, I haven't lost my shit for ages. I thought, wow, this stuff's really good. It's doing something. So then I decided to get some for Django. And yeah, Django can tell you what he likes about it.
Okay, well, I think this clean slate stuff has been really helping me, like making my head feel clearer and less chaotic, as my mother said. And I've been concentrating much better in lessons, as another example. And I've been finding it easier to I sleep better, for example. And I find it easier to wake up in the morning because I have to get up very early because I end up having much more sleep because my head is much less chaotic.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Django, how old are you now?
I'm 12.
All right. So have you made your routine on your own that you know when you like using clean slate? And are you using Zero in yet too, or no?
No, not yet. I might start taking it though. What do you think, Mum?
Yeah.
I mean, we do have kids that are on it as young as 8. Isn't that right, Clayton?
Yeah, we have 8-year-olds that, and especially in this environment where there's a lot of homeschooling, they absolutely love it.
Yeah,
and
my thing is,
I'll give you some insight. I was allegedly, because I don't ever remember this, but I was diagnosed as ADD as a kid as well. But I honestly, from my perspective, I was never medicated, but my mom did a really good job of keeping me busy, right? If I competed in multiple sports, my schoolwork was great because I was usually worn out, right? But it's understanding that it's more of a gift when you know how to use it, and it comes in time. Usually we don't, it's more of being high functioning than it is you can say a disorder, but being able to now, hyper focus, clean up some of the blockages and allow you to become more of what you're capable of becoming is kind of cool. So the sleep part is one interesting aspect. How after what period of time when you started using clean slate did you notice that you were starting to sleep better? And do you recall your dreams now?
I don't really recall my dreams, but it wasn't too, maybe a week or something after I started taking it. Probably, I can't really remember that well, but probably that. I started to sleep better because I was thinking about less, basically, you could say. Because usually my mind's really cluttered and thinking about 10 things every second, but then it just started to clear out a bit. You could say, yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I-
we the whole family on it now.
The one important point for this to take from what Marcia was saying initially is what you heard is for the first time in history that a man asked her that she hadn't lost her mind, and she didn't lose her mind on him.
That's great.
So that is awesome. Thank you. Thank you both. I mean, this is the fun part, because most of us here are adults, right?
Yeah.
But Django's so far ahead of the curve, you know, that our focus needs to be on the youngins, you know, because we've got to clean them up, because that's our future, right? If we don't take care of them, we're in trouble, because at some point they're going to be running stuff.
What really excites me is that Django, I think, has tried so hard for years to be, you know, to act normal, to be normal. And he's tried so hard at school and he's found it difficult to concentrate. Now that we've got all that under control, I think he's really going to excel, because he's so good at trying. Do you know what I mean? He's got...
It's going to be interesting to see how he is, like, say, for example, in three months' time, if he starts, like, with, for example, the 0 in.
Yeah.
Django, can I give you some life advice?
Okay.
And it's really, really brief, but I want you to carry this with you for the rest of your life.
Okay.
Don't ever be normal.
Yeah.
Don't be normal, man. Just be you. I mean, look at me. You think I'm normal?
You're special in a good way.
be you. The reason your brain's going crazy is there's a lot of stuff you got to do, and being able to organize it and hyper focus once. And I think that's one of the fun parts of what Clean Slate does is it's removing some of the bad stuff. Everything else starts to come in line. Yeah, and like the one thing I tell my kids is don't be normal. The good ones aren't made to be normal. So keep going.
What do you want to do when you leave school?
Thank you, Marcia and Django. Okay, Tommy, you're up.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Dr. Dory. Hope everyone is doing great. I have to tell you guys a little story, because for the last 15-20 years I was having a fatty liver and having some small issues with my body, and what happened is that I joined the Root family back in February 4th, and I was starting with a clean slate. I think it was end of February, because it took a little time before we got it here to Norway. I had a test in a doctor office where we are testing for something called ALAT and ASAT, and both of them I knew it was red numbers before.
Let me just stop you for a minute, because I want them to see what the what they mean. So I made a slide here that shows, like, for the ALAT, which so we have you said the ASAT and the ALAT. So these are two tests. One is to see, you know, like liver, you know, when the liver is injured, this is released in the blood, and then also when the liver is damaged, the ALAT test is when the liver is damaged. That also releases these enzymes into the blood. So go ahead, continue.
Thank you. And what happened is I started with a clean slate as I said, in the end of February, beginning of March, and I had a test in the doctor office, and it showed that I had, of course, a wrong level when it comes to the ASAT and ALAT. So I continue with the clean slate. I double the doses for almost, I think, about 3 months. I go back in June and had a new test, and I think the test results show itself, if you ask me.
So now we're looking at your ASAT test, and you see here it was 48. It needs to, and it's already, you know, it was down to 29 after 3 months.
And the green zone is where you're perceived to be
The
acceptable,
safe,
correct?
yeah, exactly. Within
Safe
this,
zone.
the safe zone in the range. So that's really substantial.
So not only did you get into the safe zone, you dropped down to the bottom of it in a hurry.
Correct.
Within
How
3
did you
months.
feel?
I feel great, to be honest, because I have a clean slate to thank. And I also have to add that my wife is using it and my 3-month-old child is using it. And I have to say that my wife started the same time as me. So when my son was born, I think he was toxic free. I don't think he have any heavy metals or anything in him. And I think also that it shows that he's a healthy boy, if you ask me.
And you've seen some of the reports. You've had some of the data back on the young one, right? That he's a little more functional than most. You know, when being reviewed by his pediatrician.
Correct. When he had his first 6 weeks checkup with the doctor office and stuff like that, and the healthcare, the lady was saying that he was very strong. He was lifting his head. He likes to stand. He likes to follow what you're doing, and he's looking at you, and that's already after 6 weeks. And she was so amazed how focused he was already at that time that she was wondering what kind of amazing kid this was.
And there's so many key points to that your wife was using this during pregnancy. And is the little guy getting his own drops, or is mama taking her own, and then is he getting it through feeding?
Nope, he's getting 1 drop every single day.
Happy babies.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit more about you with your experience, because you said you doubled your dose. And you know, in our groups, we have, I mean, and all throughout Europe, we have people using 2 to 3 drops and getting some pretty significant changes, while others increase their dose and they start to see some really accelerated changes. So what was your experience like from the start up until June, and then with how you're doing now?
I go back to the original amount. I'm down to 10 twice a day. So I'm not taking the double doses anymore, but as I said, I feel great. I'm looking forward to the next time I'm going to the doctor office and giving some blood. I usually don't like to give blood, but this time I'm looking forward to see the next result and how everything is.
Isn't that the fun part of getting healthy though? You get to see the positive aspects of changes taking place. Like, oh, now I'm winning. And it changes the outlook on stuff.
It does. I also dropped 12 kilos. So I don't know if it's thanks to the wife or if it's thanks to Clean Slate.
Oh, absolutely. It's the wife. We know that for sure.
Most likely.
That's losing baby weight, which has never happened before, ever.
True. It's true what they say, that the guys is also gaining when the wife is gaining. So
I told you that.
Yes, you did. I listened to you also.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then I have this last slide up here for you, Tommy, about your ALOT. And so you can see it went from 118 down to 75, not quite yet into the green zone, but I'm hopeful that on the next test that you get, you'll be down again. It's only 5 away. I mean, this is really significant. Look at the drop in 3 months.
Yes.
But the ALOT test, for what it measures, and this is such an important thing for people to understand, not just for liver function, but for every aspect of the body, is that we know the liver has the ability to regenerate, right? Mm-hmm. As does the rest of our system. But you hear a lot of discussions about liver function and repairing or regenerating your liver. He's seeing it. I mean, that's probably a 30% reduction in enzymatic levels. So he's clinically watching initially the removal of what was causing the damage, but then also watching the repair process take place. Mm-hmm. And it's always nice to see clinical data.
Astonishing.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Tommy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I just ask Tommy something?
Sure.
Obviously, it's a non-alcoholic related problem you had with your liver. Now, I don't touch booze or alcohol at all. I've not touched it for over 20 years. So how do you get a damaged liver to this extent without the alcohol? How was it damaged?
They were saying that I had so much infection in my body because I have a problem with my stomach and those kind of things. So they said that that was one of the things that caused it, and of course with all the toxin and everything.
Wow. Okay. Just press the red, flew up a red flag for me. There I am trying to behave myself and keeping off the alcohol, and all of a sudden, through behaving yourself, you can cause just as much damage. You know. So if that's the choice, where's the wine?
Yep. Well, and this is the important part, right? Of what was the cause? Toxicity.
Yep.
Clean up the mess. Everything else, and you got to look at your liver and your kidneys just like muscles, right? They need some work. So if you try to live healthy all the time, your organs are going to get bored. You got to give them some work. So this is water, not vodka. Don't judge me.
And Tommy, you also were on some proton pump inhibitors. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. I eat that every day because of my stomach. I stopped smoking 12 years ago, and after that, my stomach gets very upset, and I have this inflammation in my where the food is going down.
In your esophagus.
So I have cut down. Also, I took 2 tablets in the morning and 1 in the evening. So I cut down on 1 tablet, and I cut down on the other one in the morning. So I only take 1 every day now.
Awesome.
Yeah. Great.
Terrific, Tommy.
Thank you.
All right.
Looking
Well, thank you.
It all.
Thank you so much, Tommy, for your testimonial, and then we can release you so you can go back to work.
Tommy laid down the gauntlet. Now, who's got better results than that?
I dare you. Come on. Thank you, guys. I need to run.
Thanks,
Thank you very much.
Tommy, all the best to you.